Welcome to the European news on October 1st in 2021. And today we start in Banja Luka in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Amid the tense political situation in the region, the Bosnian Serbs have announced plans to form their own army. The Serbian member of the Bosnian Triple Presidency, Milorad Dodik, announced on Monday evening that the Serbs would withdraw their consent to a joint Bosnian army by voting in the parliament of the semi-autonomous Serbian Republika Srpska. At the same time, the formation of an independent army is proposed within a few months. This should be voted on in the coming days. The Croatian presidency member, Zeljko Komšić, spoke of a criminal act of rebellion. Since the end of the Bosnian War that lasted from 1992 to 1995, Bosnia had been divided into two semi-autonomous republics, one Serbian and one Croatian Bosnian. Each part has its own government and parliament. At the same time, there is a joint Serbian-Croatian Bosnian central government. In 2006, a joint army was formed comprising 10,000 soldiers and civilian members. The international community regards these as important for the territorial integrity of Bosnia. The local situation is currently considered to be tense. The Bosnian Serbs have been boycotting the work of the central institutions of the Balkan states since July. They are protesting against a ban on the denial of genocide in the country, which the then UN envoy for Bosnia and Herzegovina, Valentin Inzko, imposed shortly before the end of his mandate. The ban was apparently aimed at the Serbian way of dealing with the Srebrenica massacre. The then UN protection zone was captured by Serbian Bosnian troops in July 1995. In the following days, they murdered more than 8,000 Bosniaks. However, the Serbian representatives in Bosnia and politicians in Serbia usually deny that the massacre was genocide. Due to his wide-ranging powers, the High Representative of the international community has an important role to play in implementing reforms and overcoming political differences in Bosnia and Herzegovina. The German Christian Schmidt took over this position in August. I made a video on that one. And now we have to go to Brussels. The European Union will extend a mechanism to monitor and potentially limit the export of COVID-19 vaccines from the Union until the end of 2021 from the current deadline of end September. And EU officials said that on Wednesday. The European Commission, the EU's executive, said earlier this week it would propose such an extension, but initially not all governments supported it because vaccination campaigns in the EU have been advancing quickly and there are no longer any shortages of shots like in the first half of the year. Still, uncertainty about the need to secure booster shots as new variants of the coronavirus emerge convinced all governments to retain some control over exports, the officials said. And now let's go to Berlin in Germany. Germany's Greens said on Wednesday that they held a good first round of talks with the Liberals, the German Free Democrats, and planned to meet them again, though the two, what we call at the moment, kingmakers, were at odds over which larger partners to join in a new coalition government. The upbeat message from the Greens' Annalena Baerbock came after a smiling selfie of FDP and Green leaders together at an initial meeting late on Tuesday, and that went viral with the coziness of the unlikely allies meeting that was sparking a raft of jokes. The Greens and FDP, who are from opposite ends of the political spectrum and differ on a range of issues, have moved center stage after the Social Democrats won Sunday's election by a narrow margin that leaves them seeking partners. Both the center-left SPD and Chancellor Angela Merkel's Conservative Union, which slumped to a record low result, would need the center-right FDP and leftist Greens as partners to get a parliamentary majority for a coalition government. Baerbock's Greens favor a three-way tie-up with the Liberals and the Social Democrats, while the FDP would prefer the two smaller parties to join forces with former Merkel's and now Armin Laschet's Conservatives. The Social Democrats is the election winner after this federal election, and therefore it is crucial for us to hold these talks now, but we are talking to all parties, Baerbock told reporters ahead of a weekend meeting with the Social Democrats. Of her talks on Tuesday night with the FDP, she simply said, "We had a good discussion yesterday," but they won't give details if they are wise. FDP Secretary General Wissing said he could reveal nothing about the talks with the Greens as the small circle had agreed to stay mum, but that a bigger group of people from both parties would meet again on Friday. After that, the FDP would hold preliminary talks with the Conservatives on Saturday and the SPD on Sunday, but it changed now because of the CSU. It will be with the SPD on Sunday and with the CDU on Sunday evening. He declined to speculate on the outcome, but made clear once again that the FDP's preferred partner was the conservative CDU-CSU. "We have justified this in terms of content, and since the content with which the parties have presented themselves has not changed, of course, this remains our preference," Wissing told reporters. The photo of Greens leaders Robert Habeck and Baerbock with FDP leader Christian Lindner and Wissing at an unknown location appeared to send an upbeat message about prospects for the parties working together. "We're looking for common ground and bridges across divisions, and even finding some," that was written by Habeck under the photo, and with a smile and exciting times. Within hours, the photo went viral and became the subject of many jokes online. Some posts manipulated the images to show the four wearing masks or superimposing the faces of other politicians on top. Others showed the four as a pop band. On one, they sing the 1979 disco hit "We Are Family." All four posted the photo at the same time in the early hours of Wednesday on Instagram, and for my older viewers, a popular social media platform with younger voters. Or the others will know Instagram. Commentators said the coordinated post showed that the parties were determined to create a narrative in which they would be a central binding force at the heart of the alliance. Scholz, from the Social Democrats, currently finance minister in Merkel's coalition, is keen to do a deal with the Greens, who won 14.8% of the vote, and the FDP, which got 11.5%. And he wants to do that by Christmas, and he says he has a mandate from voters to form a government if possible. Chancellor Angela Merkel has congratulated Scholz on his election success, her spokesperson said. The Conservatives and the candidate who succeeded Merkel, Armin Laschet, has also congratulated Scholz on coming first in the election, the Christian Democrats said on Wednesday. Laschet had faced widespread criticism for failing to do so earlier. So we still have exciting times ahead of us in Germany. But now we go back to Brussels. The European Union will tighten visa rules for Belarusian state officials, Europe's migration commissioner said on Wednesday. And that's in retaliation for what she called Minsk's aggressive effort to destabilize the Union by pushing in irregular migrants. The EU accuses President Alexander Lukashenko of Belarus of orchestrating a sharp rise in migrant arrivals across the Belarus border with Union members Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia. The increase happened after the 27-nation union slapped sanctions on Minsk over human rights abuses and an election widely deemed rigged. "We have an aggressive regime, Lukashenko, that is actually pushing migrants to the European border to destabilize the European Union," the Union's Home Affairs Commissioner Ylva Johansson told journalists. And she said, "This is an act of aggression." Johansson made the comments as part of an update on stalled efforts to agree a new EU migration system to replace the one that failed amid a 2015-2016 spike in Mediterranean immigration, stressing that data from EU law enforcement agency Europol shows 90% of those arriving irregularly in the Union have used traffickers along the way. She proposed the EU states that they step up their fight against such traffickers. For Belarus, she said tightening visa procedures for state officials, but not ordinary Belarusians, was needed. What we are seeing now is a desperate Lukashenko, she said. And she said, this is a regime that has denied its own people free and fair elections. This is a regime that is putting political opposition in jail. This is a regime that has hijacked a passenger flight and now is using innocent people in an act of aggression. This is not a regime we should cooperate with. Lukashenko has blamed the West for what he said was a looming humanitarian catastrophe this winter at the Belarusian-Polish border. The EU and Belarus enacted a new visa facilitation deal in July last year to ease procedures and reduce costs for Belarusians willing to visit the Union briefly. But Minsk has since withdrawn from its linked EU readmission agreement, which establishes cooperation on sending away people who stay in the Union without the formal right to do so. That came as the EU sanctioned Belarus over a disputed election last August and a crackdown on protests after Lukashenko claimed victory and extended his 26-year-long rule. The Union then stepped up sanctions, introducing border economic curbs on Minsk after Belarus forced a Ryanair flight to land on its soil last May to arrest a dissident on board. Migrants from Iraq, Kurdistan, Congo and Cameroon then started appearing on the Belarusian border with Lithuania, who had no such immigration in the past, and then on its frontiers with Latvia and Poland. 5 people are reported to have died on the Polish-Belarusian border zone. Johansson demanded Warsaw to investigate this. The nationalist anti-immigration law and justice, the PiS party, ruling in Poland has established an emergency zone along the border with Belarus, meaning no journalists or rights activists are allowed to witness developments there. It is totally unacceptable that people are dying at our borders, Johansson said, adding she was traveling to Warsaw on Thursday to meet Poland's interior minister. And I, latest, see you tomorrow on my next video. Bis gleich.